Thank you, Stuart, for your kind words. Good evening, distinguished guests. Good evening, State Secretary. Good evening, Vice Minister. It is a pleasure. Forgive me, I've not been well, so my voice may be not as strong as it normally is. It is a pleasure to be part of this important event. It has been a privilege for me to have acted as IUCN Ambassador to the Bonn Challenge since 2012. I am a great believer in the transformative power of the Bonn Challenge. This unprecedented global effort to restore 350 million hectares of land, of degraded and deforested land by 2030, to effect changes throughout the world. As you heard already from everyone, we have already secured pledges from governments, private associations, and companies around the globe to restore 156 million hectares. That is 3 years early that we have planned for, with the potential climate benefit of sequestering 15.26 gigatons of CO2. And achieving the 350 million hectares goal will generate about 170 billion per year in net benefit from watershed protection, improved crops, yields and forest products, and could sequester up to 1.7 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent annually. That is extraordinary, and I tell you why the Bonn Challenge is so important. I work in many issues. I talk a lot about the environment, but why I was so taken immediately when I was asked to be an ambassador for the Bonn Challenge was because everything about the Bonn Challenge is positive. It is a real initiative that can bring and can help us to tackle the threat of catastrophic climate change. There can no longer be any doubt that climate change is the greatest threat that we face today. For 2 consecutive years, we have broken the record for the highest annual global temperature ever recorded. And of course, we keep saying that, and perhaps you may say that we know that. We are already experiencing the consequences of a warming world. Natural disasters are growing in severity and deadliness, and it's not only in the developed world, but everywhere. You have seen what happened in the United States recently, and what happened last year. Sea levels are rising. Species have been lost forever in every ecosystem, increasing desertification, food and water scarcity, and political unrest. This affects everyone, everywhere, in every nation and in every echelon of society. Don't think anymore that because we have a privileged life, we will not pay the price of what climate change can do to us. You have seen what happened in America. But of course, the people in the developing world who are some of the most vulnerable communities across the globe, are bearing disproportionate burden of the harm without having significantly contributed to the cause. We have already reached the stage of dangerous climate change. The urgent task now is to avoid climate change catastrophe. We must mobilize on all fronts, in every sector, within the forest and land use sector. We should act to implement adaptation-based mitigation strategy, especially forest landscape restoration. Restoration of degraded and deforested lands represent perhaps one of the best opportunities for adaptation-based mitigation for forests and land use in nearly every region of the world. Forest landscape restoration is an adaptation-based mitigation measure with a proven track record and a growing global movement spearheaded by the Bonn Challenge. For example, Rwanda and El Salvador are two countries, and now you heard about Sri Lanka, who have made great progress in transforming the degraded and deforested land. Rwanda is on course to reach the goal of increasing forest cover to 30% of total land area, achieving a major reversal in the trend of declining forest cover thanks to massive reforestation and agroforestry activities. With native species, with the involvement of the local population, El Salvador is implementing the nation program for ecosystem and landscape restoration with the goal of restoring 1 million hectares of degraded and deforested land. These are great examples of what can be achieved through the Bonn Challenge. Through forest landscape restoration, we could not only forestall destruction, but also achieve and make our communities safer, healthier, and more prosperous. Adaptation-based mitigation is a win-win, and it has benefits for all. Action on restoration aligned with the Bonn Challenge will benefit people everywhere, including the world's poorest and the most vulnerable. It will create jobs, safer water supplies, and more climate resilient crops. I call on governments, private associations, and companies to sign on to the Bonn Challenge and join this global movement of change. I thank the German government for the leadership in supporting the Bonn Challenge and spearheading everything that the Bonn Challenge has been able to achieve so far. Forests are essential to our future. More than 1.6 billion people depend on them for food, water, fuel, medicine, traditional cultures, and livelihood. So please, all of you, I hope that you will support and that you will become speakers and defenders of the Bonn Challenge. Thank you very much.